Welcome, everyone, to the L7C Podcast Superhero Edition. Today, as the L7C always does, we gave you some time. Now we're going to be talking Thor, Love, and Thunder. We watched it with the crew, had a good time as always. And you know, when it comes to these movies, we got the captain, Byron Mitchell, here with us. How are you doing today, sir?
I am great. It's a great Tuesday. A lot of comic book related movie stuff coming soon, so I'm good.
Matt, I will say for the captain, you've been busy the month of July. It's not even football season. You've been on a whole bunch of big wrestling pods. You got a SummerSlam preview and review coming up. You got this one. Hell, we got Comic-Con that we got to do. Like, you have been really busy this month. You got Naruto.
Yeah, usually the fall is my busy season, but this summer, man, it's like every important news that I'm like interested in has something. So I have to jump on when I can.
And yep, we just gave you guys a spoiler. We will be talking about Comic-Con because that is happening next weekend. And we have a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be going down there. Marvel is pulling up, guys. Marvel's pulling up. The Rock's pulling up. DC's pulling up with Shazam too. Like, people are pulling up for this.
I am very excited that Comic-Con is back. I think the last time when I was looking at it, Marvel was at Comic-Con was like 2019, so like
when they
3
showed
years
all of Phase 4.
Yep, all of Phase 4. So they're going to be back. I think their showcase is Saturday, July 21st at 5 p.m. Pacific, which will be 8 p.m. our time. So definitely will be locked in, if I'm not busy, at 8 p.m. July 21st to get all the Marvel cinematic news. Like, I know we talked about a little bit of last podcast. I think they're going to show a Black Panther 2 trailer, maybe another trailer for She-Hulk, maybe a teaser for the Marvels, which I know was supposed to come out in November of this year, but I think got pushed back to February of next year. So maybe a teaser for them. I don't know. It's going to be interesting stuff.
I mean, we talk about 2019. I remember the Avengers, our group chat all about Avengers stuff. It blew up. It had all the different announcements, Black Widow, all the shows, Hawkeye, She-Hulk. Shoot, maybe we'll get stuff about Armored Wars with War Machine, because that was announced in 2019 at that Comic-Con. We had Blade announced. Like, there was so much stuff 2 years ago. Like, I feel like they're going to come in pretty heavy.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to preview like the second half of 2022, maybe a little preview of 2023, because I know they have some shows planned. I think, like I said, She-Hulk. I know I've heard some Ironheart rumors, some Armor War rumors, Secret Invasion or Secret Wars. I'm not sure what they're calling it. I've heard rumors about that too, so we'll see. Yeah.
And then I guess too with the Marvels, before we go into Thor, it kind of would make sense because Miss Marvel ends tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow is the finale episode of Miss Marvel.
Do we get a Carol Danvers appearance?
I don't know. Maybe because from the way, I'll just go into spoilers.
Go ahead.
So the first 5 episodes came out. Up until last week, episode 5 came out. I think it was episode 4 or 5 where you found out like what she is. So she's part of this group called the Clandestines, which is like this little known group in Marvel Comics. Basically, like, people after centuries call them the Jinn, which everyone knows like jinns are like genies and stuff like that. So that's like part of her lineage. So she's not inhuman, but she is clandestine, which, whatever, I still think they could have made her an inhuman. But that's neither here nor there. So I don't know if Carol Danvers is going to show up, because at first I thought it was like part of Kree technology, which Captain Marvel is, searching for the Kree and all that. So I don't know, but it would make sense since Miss Marvel is supposed to be in the Marvels movie.
And we'll be talking about that finale when we review Comic-Con in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
But let's get into Thor, man. It came out on this past Thursday, so we're close to a weekend. It'll probably be a week at the time where people are listening to this. And what did you think about it?
Overall, I enjoyed it. It was a lot funnier than Ragnarok because they went like the first two movies were like a little darker, but
Mhm.
Ragnarok and Love and Thunder are basically like lighthearted comedy action set pieces, which is enjoyable. Definitely, like I said, way funnier than Ragnarok. I enjoyed it um, overall.
Okay. Well, let's right get into it. Everyone knows that from watching like the trailers, you have Gorr, which most of the Marvel movies kind of start this way. If the bad guy hasn't been introduced in the other movies, they do like a quick little thing on why this person's a bad guy, why they're motivated. And you see Gorr with his daughter, desert. I mean, they're praying to the gods, and the gods don't answer their call. The daughter dies. Gorr actually finds the god they've been trying to pray for, and he's like, well, basically, F you. So, and then he denounces the god. God's about to kill him, and he gets the Necro Sword, which is a god killer. And then he does the vow, all gods will die. I will say they stuck pretty true to the comic accuracy of that. The only difference was that Gorr's faith in the gods started to really waver when first his wife died with their pregnant child.
Mhm.
Like, so that was one of the things they cut out, which is fine. They still had him with one of his daughters dying in that. And you kind of feel for him, man, because I mean, everyone's been there where you're praying and sometimes your prayers don't get answered or it takes a little bit longer. And then, like, all this bad stuff happens to you, you start to lose faith.
Yeah, that was a really good introductory scene to like Gorr and what he is about. Like when I first saw the trailer, I thought they weren't going to show that, maybe like in a flashback. But I like that they started right with that, so you know what Gorr's about. And that god that he killed, he was kind of being a dick, low key. So I was kind of like, all right, I get it, I get it.
Yeah, he was rough, man. So you're just going through the things. You see Thor with the Guardians, so that's cool to see. You see him with the montage getting in shape. Korg is narrating it and all of that. How did you feel with seeing Thor with the Guardians and Thor trying to find himself again?
I think, like I said in the last podcast, this movie was like the central theme was about Thor finding himself after Endgame, like with all the deaths and like losing Loki and his parents and all that, just, you know, finding himself again. So I like that they did start off with that montage of the training, him going from Fat Thor back to Fit Thor,
Mm-hmm.
and just his interaction, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that was a pretty neat scene to go into after Gorr.
So then we finally get a person we haven't seen in a little bit, and we know we're skipping through. Make sure you watch the movie. Also, we've already said spoilers ahead. You see Sif.
Yes, Lady Sif.
You've not seen her in a Marvel movie since the second one.
Yeah, she was in like half episode of Loki, but Marvel movie wise, we haven't seen her since Thor: The Dark World because she was not in Ragnarok.
Yeah, so Thor and Korg, they go to go help her. She's telling him the God Butcher. He's going crazy. He's killing all the gods. Next stop is Asgard on Earth. We get to go to Asgard on Earth. You know, King Valkyrie running things. You see how Asgard has become modernized. Like they had that Infinity Gauntlet store where the Infinity Gauntlet's on it, and they're having shows and plays and
Definitely has become like a tourist attraction.
yes.
Because I know they had like the boat ride tour of New Asgard and all that good stuff.
And then even a little bit before we even get to there too, for the first time really since the second movie, obviously she was in Endgame for a little bit, but we get Jane and Darcy.
Jane and Darcy are returned. They actually did go the comic book route of saying Jane
Yes.
Did have cancer. She had stage 4 cancer. Like when we first see her, she's getting chemotherapy, and Darcy's coming to visit her, bring her snacks and stuff. But she really wants to get back to the lab to see if she can find a cure for cancer to, you know, live longer. Because I don't know if it was no, it was a later scene where you see her mom actually died of cancer as well.
Yeah, so it looked like it was like in the family kind of.
Yeah.
And then you also see Dr. Eric Selvig. He's back where he has a little conversation with Jane, and Darcy's like, why don't you just, do the space Viking mythical god card called Thor? And she's like, I mean, they haven't talked in years. So, but she starts looking at the Greek, like the Norse mythology, and she's like, maybe I can go find the answer at New Asgard. And you see her watching the play of, it's kind of funny how they have the play of how Hela came to be. And then they did answer our question. How was Mjolnir? So Mjolnir was retrieved, like the pieces, and they put it on display. They answered that.
Yeah, I don't know who got it, but someone, maybe it was Thor or Loki or someone, they brought it back from where Odin died, and Hela broke Mjolnir and brought it back to New Asgard, just in a display case for all to see.
So then you fast forward a little bit, the fights are happening at New Asgard. You got Valkyrie there fighting. You have Thor coming through on the Bifrost, always gets you hyped. He's fighting. And then you hear other people get hyped again, and Thor's looking around, sees Mjolnir just swinging around, hitting people, and he's like, oh, you're back. And then he tries to get it, just like you see in the commercial. Jane grabs it back, and he's just like, I'm sorry, who are you? And then when she revealed herself, you get Jane, and you're like, wow, here we are.
Here we are. And then after that, you hear Korg like narrate like the story of Jane and Thor, like how they're together for a while, did all like these activities
that we didn't see in the movies.
That we've never seen in the movie. So I think that was a cool, neat backstory of like their relationship. And then like one Halloween night where like both Jane and Thor are drunk, Thor whispers to Mjolnir to protect Jane at pretty much all costs, so that inscribes like a little oath in Mjolnir to protect Jane. So that's how she becomes Almighty Thor, because she can wield the hammer because of that prophecy or oath. So that was cool to see.
Did you feel about that, Byron? Because a lot of people, that's a controversial thing, because she wasn't worthy technically on her own. It was because of the oath.
Yeah, I mean, it felt weird a little bit, because like in Thor, like the original inscription is, whoever be so worthy shall receive the power of Thor, and then get this inscription that, protect Jane at all costs. I mean, I get changing it for, Marvel movies, but it's all right, I guess.
And I think people are like, oh, that takes away from like her worthiness, because it's like you had a cheat code, which I didn't know. I only thought, well, I guess Odin was still alive. I only thought Odin could inscribe on Mjolnir. That was to my knowledge. I didn't know Thor could. Maybe he didn't know, but
yeah, I also thought it had to be Odin that inscribed on Mjolnir. But I guess if you're in the Odin bloodline, maybe that's the thing.
So it's kind of weird too, because then why? Well, I guess then you have Mjolnir calling out to her, which I guess is protecting her, because when she's Mighty Thor, she's fully healthy. Yeah. When she doesn't have the hammer, her cancer gets a lot worse. I just know a lot of people were feeling some type of way about it, because obviously the people we've seen hold Mjolnir, Odin, Thor, Vision, Captain America, I mean Hela, because Hela grabbed it, and Jane. So, which for another plot point later in the movie, why hasn't Thor inscribed anything on Stormbreaker?
Maybe, like you said, maybe he doesn't know he has that ability to like inscribe like oaths on like weapons and things.
Because anyone can use Stormbreaker, but you have to be worthy to pick up Mjolnir, which I think Thor really needs to change that for the future, because that was kind of biting him here.
Yeah, it did come to bite him back in the end.
So you actually have Gorr come to New Asgard, and he takes the kids, and we find out Heimdall has a son.
Which I don't think that's comic book accurate, but I think they just threw that in for the movies for plot purposes.
I was just like, okay, another legacy character.
Which is nice to see. We love a good legacy character.
Oh, yeah. So then you also see the awkward bits with the meme of the guy looking at the girl walking past, and the girl you're walking was looking at you crazy. You see that with Thor, Mjolnir, and Stormbreaker. Like Thor's more like, dude, my ex hammers with my ex girl. I can't have my ex girl, but come on now, the hammer too. And then you have Stormbreaker getting jealous, which again comes to bite.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I like that whole thing. It just felt a little awkward to me. But the memes about it are hilarious, and in the moment, like the interactions between Stormbreaker and Thor were hilarious too. But I don't know, kind of takes away from the movie just a little bit for me.
So obviously, Thor realizes dude has the Necro Sword, so he's real deal Holyfield. He can kill all these people. He can kill them all. So their idea is to go get the other gods and recruit, which they have to use the goats and Stormbreaker. Like they get to, I forget the place that it was called, but where Zeus and them are at.
Omnipotent City.
Yeah. So they get there, which I get it. You're getting other gods to your plans to get them to help you fight this war, which is cool. But you're literally sitting on planet Earth. You have a whole contact list of people. What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely is one of the times you probably should call the Avengers like Doctor Strange, and I don't know like where timeline wise if this is before or after Doctor Strange 2, but you know, get Scarlet Witch and all those good people to help you.
Yeah, at least Doctor Strange, man, get some mystical arts in here. He could help you out. Like, that's when he's like, oh, we need to raise an army. I was like, so we about to call your friends? Like, what are we gonna? Well, we're gonna go get the gods, and then we go. They sneak in. We see Zeus, Russell Crowe. Zeus isn't the Zeus from Hercules, the cartoon. He is a, I guess you could say, more correctly portrayed. He's kind of a dick too.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick. Definitely in love with himself, like Zeus is in Greek mythology, has a horde of ladies by his side, and you know, just putting on a show for all the fellow gods.
And then he also said, like, hey man, I know dude has a Necro Sword, but I can't have people panicking up here. Like, so what? He kills a bunch of weaker gods. It is what it is. So then Thor has the signature "never meet your heroes" moment because he said he idolized Zeus. He's made his moves after Zeus.
That was cool just to see that, you know, Zeus was his hero. But like you said, never meet your hero sometimes because that could turn around and bite you in the butt, which in this case it did.
They're asking, hey man, let's at least do a lightning bolt at least. He says, no, you have the fight scene with all of them. You think he kills Korg. You really do.
You really do. But then it comes to find out that Korg can live just by his face alone. And then you see, because Zeus killed Korg, that Thor takes Zeus's lightning bolt and throws it at him and impales him, and Zeus falls down.
Yeah. So you have the lightning bolt now. You're going to that dark planet where you see in the commercials to go fight again. And Gorg fights all three of them, all four of them, really.
It was just three, I think.
Oh, yeah, Gorg was still down. He was still down.
Because he was just a face.
Yeah, so he fought Valkyrie, Thor, and Thor.
Yeah, he was doing pretty well against them. For a 3v1 match, he held his own pretty well.
And before you get there, you do have the reconciliation of Jane and Thor.
Yeah, because she finally tells him that she has cancer. He's like, why didn't you tell me? Because she's like, well, I don't want you to worry about it. And all that stuff. So they're kind of flirting with each other. And then they finally kiss, which, you know, we all thought they were going to eventually in the movie. But before they get to that planet, they kiss and they're back together.
Yeah, and before the fight, even when they're looking on that planet, Jane realizes that Stormbreaker is the key for this guy's plan, because the plan is for him to get to eternity to that just kill all the gods all in one fell swoop. And he needs the Bifrost, which the only thing right now can produce the Bifrost, Stormbreaker, to make that happen. So they're running back. Gorr is talking to each one of those three when he has them like wrapped in vines. Yeah. And like when he's messing with Jane, he's like, call your hammer. And he finally calls it. They start fighting. I mean, I thought he killed Valkyrie. I'm not going to lie. He stabbed her. And I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, I thought she was done too. I was like, dang. She didn't even make it through the whole movie.
And then Jane's down. And then he takes Stormbreaker, which goes back to what we said. Why is there not an oath with Stormbreaker? And he's out. Like he calls the Bifrost. And Gorr's like, I'm gonna snatch that from you while you're going back to Earth.
Right. Took the whole Stormbreaker while they were traveling to Barfrost. I mean, that scene with Gorr like talking to each of them individually, like preying on their weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that was Christian Bale is such a great actor. You make that scene so creepy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then you have back Valkyrie's done. She's done for the movie. She's not coming back to fight. Like she got literally, I thought she was gonna die. So she's out.
Mm-hmm.
They land. Thor sees cancer version Jane for the first time. He's like, yeah, you can't do it, man. Whatever you're using with this hammer, it's hastening it. Like the stuff's not working.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those things where he's like, oh, I don't want you to come fight because I love you so much. I don't want you to die. He's like, what happened to living in the moment? So I'm going to throw this question to you.
Yes.
Because we brought up Doctor Strange. Why didn't they call him to help? Why didn't they call him to help with her illness?
I don't know. Because I feel like he could find a cure. Like if anybody could find a cure for cancer, it would be Doctor Strange.
I mean, he's using his magic with his uncurable hands.
Or call Dr. Bruce Banner. He probably could find a cure too.
Yeah, so I don't know why those people weren't get called, because if you watch Doctor Strange 1, yeah, there was a lot of people there who were sick and they went to Kamatage and they got healed through their magic. So I'm like, how can we not use... We have all this magic and you don't want to call him when you met him in Ragnarok and you know he's magical? Right.
I don't get it.
And like you said, he knows Banner. That's like his closest Avenger friend.
Right. He was a OG6.
Mm-hmm. So those were points I'm sitting here. I was like, dang, they could really use one of these doctors right now that they have on staff.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I mean, if you really, really wanted to cheat, you could go use American to go to a multiverse where they have a cure for cancer and get it to her.
That's very true. I didn't think of that point.
But again, it's like you said, where is this? Is this before Multiverse of Madness? Is this after? Is Doctor Strange already gone trying to stop that incursion or whatever? Like,
right.
But either or, again, what we've talked about, these people aren't using their resources. Thor gets there. You get to the final fight. He frees the kids, but he has to know. See, that's the thing, Byron. We were talking about earlier. Like, but he gave those kids for a small period, each of them, the power of Thor.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to know he could do. Like, why wouldn't you put that on your freaking weapon?
That's true. I forgot about in the final scene. Because Gorr calls like his army of like shadow creatures, and it's just Thor and a bunch of kids, and he does give them the power of Thor for a brief moment.
And they're all like, "Wow, we don't know how to fight, dude. We've been living in them times of peace, kind of."
Right. Yeah. So he does know how to inscribe. I don't know why he doesn't have it on Stormbreaker.
Because you see the girl with like the teddy bear going crazy. You see Heimdall's son he's going wild. He has Heimdall's eyes too. Like,
oh yeah, he could be very powerful in the MCU.
So then, like, him and Gorr start going at it. He's still not enough. Jane makes the call. She's coming there for one final fight. So then those two start going at it. You actually have Jane, the one who breaks the Necro sword.
Yep. Thor and Gorr were fighting like control over it. She throws Mjolnir at it, it breaks it, and then Gorr is trying to do like the Mjolnir thing now that Jane does, where she can like break apart Mjolnir and bring it back. So you're trying to do that with the Necro sword, but then Jane does it with Mjolnir and gets the Necro sword pieces, so you can't bring the sword back together.
But the bad thing is, it's too late though. He reached eternity. He got to the end. Jane's down.
Yep, while they were fighting, Stormbreaker was still opening the portal to eternity, which they go through because the thing in the movie that said that the first person that reaches eternity gets one wish, and Gorr was going to wish for all the gods to die.
Yeah, so he won.
So they're transported into like this watery light area, and then like eternity, like this big god looking thing. And that was a moment where Thor is trying to basically talk Gorr off the ledge, but then he's like, you know what, if you want to kill the gods, do it, but like, you know, everyone's trying to find love, and somehow they get like Gorr to like wish for his daughter back, whose name is
they hit her with the Naruto, man.
the no talk jutsu.
They hit him with that.
There's Gorr's like, well, I'm about to die because my fate's tied to the Necrosaur, so there's no more Necrosaur, so I die. But like, who's gonna take care of my daughter? And then James like, someone would take care. Pointing towards Thor, that Thor would take care of Gorr's daughter. So Gorr wishes for his daughter to come back. Then he dies, and then Jane dies, and
which is the shocker. No one expected her to die.
No, I really thought from the way the previews were and how Korg was narrating that Thor was going to die in this movie.
Yeah, which they were right. A Thor did die, but not the one we thought, because Phase 4, you've been passing it on, things like that. So it's like, whoa, Jane died. Like, but then again, if they weren't smart enough to use their other friends to help her cure the cancer, it's like, okay.
True.
So it's like they were telling the story of Mighty Thor. She gets a statue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and Thor fulfills her and Gorr's wishes, and he's taking care of Gorr's daughter, who is now Omega superpowered, having the powers of eternity.
Yeah, that is insane. I was not expecting that ending at all. I never thought that Thor's legacy would be passed on to a child, basically.
Yeah, who, when you see at the end fight where you see we finally get the title name, Love and Thunder, where he has Mjolnir back, and he has Stormbreaker.
Right,
he passes Stormbreaker.
Yep, because they're about to fight a bunch of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what Marvel does with Love. Because like I said, this came out of left field. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, when Jane dying was, I couldn't see that coming. I really couldn't. I could not see that coming, which is the more crazy thing. But there's consequences. There are big consequences, and this has become the thing with Phase 4. First end credit scene, Zeus is still alive. And he's mad. He's like, when did gods become the laughing stock? They used to pray to us. Now they just basically said F us. They pray to their like superheroes. And I'm like, well, I mean, so far these superheroes have a better track record than y'all. Y'all weren't doing nothing when Thanos was around. So
right.
What can you say? I mean, y'all let some humans out here making gauntlets to bring people back, and y'all are sitting on your butts. So he's like, especially Thor, because obviously Thor embarrassed him in front of everyone. He's like, yeah, I'm going to make that god fall from the sky in front of all those little people. Do you have that, my son? You get to see Hercules, which we said it's a possibility. And here we are, first end credit scene. You see Hercules. Yeah.
I thought we were probably, I know that because they mentioned him earlier in the movie.
Yes,
like Hercules is going to be an omnipotent city, but you never see him. And then to see him in the first end credit scene was wild. He definitely looked comic book accurate with his costume. It's the guy from what is that guy?
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein or something. He's going to be playing Hercules, so that would be very interesting to see because later they said, Thor will return.
Which
so Thor 5 maybe potentially,
which is crazy because it's like to think he can get to 5, or it might be he doesn't come back to a bigger movie or a joint movie or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the second end credit scene, you see Jane in Valhalla sees Heimdall, which Idris Elba didn't know we were getting that.
Nope.
So it's cool to see him. But Byron, I'm going to say I think Jane's coming back.
You think Jane's coming back?
I think she's going to be reborn. I think she'll have the Mighty Thor powers again, and this time but I also think she'll be like the new Valkyrie, like leading the Valkyrie, since Valkyrie is leading a nation.
Yeah, King Valkyrie now. I could see that.
I mean, we don't know the depths of Eternity's powers. Like, does she possess the wish stuff, or like?
That would be crazy if she possessed the wish stuff. Yeah, wow.
But I think Jane's not done yet because they got us on the first trailer. They're like, this is the story of Thor. It says Thor will return. I mean, it could mean both.
That's true, because it's very vague where, what they're going to do in Phase 4, because they have a plan, but we don't know what the plan yet is. And I know a lot of people on Twitter are like, "Oh, Marvel doesn't have a plan for Phase 4." I'm like, first off, if you guys have been fans for the MCU since day one, you know that we don't know their plan until like when we're supposed to know their plan.
Right. No, I agree with you, but I also agree with the people. Like, I get where the people on Twitter are mad because, true, we don't know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we really don't. Like, all these movies, and I've had people talk to me about this, that where are we going? Like, none of these, like, obviously phase 1 through 3, all end credit scenes were connected to like the next movie or to Thanos, like one of those. All these end credit scenes have not been connected to anything, to like any of the other movies. So it's not like the closest one was Black Widow, where the end credit scene was her giving Elena the thing, like, this is the reason your sister is dead, and gave the picture of Hawkeye, which led to a big plot in Hawkeye.
True.
But it's not like any of those other things. They've all led to like potentially their own movies afterwards. But I'm starting to say that phase 4, besides Legacy, is about, there's going to be consequences, man. Like, now Thor's pissed off the gods. So now you got Hercules coming. He'll eventually get turned into a good guy, I assume. But he's going to come to Earth wanting to fight the heroes. And Eternals, the Celestials, they're pissed. They're going to come to Earth. Like, the judge already said judgment is coming. You got Doctor Strange, who's pissed the fucking people off. Yeah, he has to go do an incursion, and Scarlet Witch
back to the Dark World, where Dormammu's for sure pissed off.
Scarlet Witch has pissed people off. She's probably, the public's probably never going to trust her again if they find out it was her doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So like you have, and then obviously like with Peter Parker, he basically erased his Peter Parker from the planet, but has Spider-Man. So there's that stuff. Shang-Chi, him activating those rings, something is coming, something is speaking.
Yeah, so, the beacon, and then like his sister taking over the 10 rings. We don't know if she's good or if she's evil.
That's true. So it's like, there's all these consequences that can happen, but none of them are connected to the overarching who is going to come to actually bring this group together. Because technically the Avengers are actually disbanded. They're not a group.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know we don't have like an Avengers movie in phase 4. I think phase 4, like phase 1 is like building like the characters and the stories.
But at the end of phase 1, you knew.
That's true. And I think the last movie confirmed so far in phase 4 is Fantastic Four. Ooh. So maybe at the end of Fantastic Four, we get the confirmed villain of like the next couple phases, like they did with Thanos. Kevin Feige has come out and said we will know like the overarching villain in the next couple of months. So it could happen at Comic-Con, could happen like in one of the shows or movies that's coming out in the next couple of months.
Because I do think the other thing that's got people mad is like, right from IGN, once Ms. Marvel airs, there's already going to be 100 hours of phase 4. That's the same length as the first 3 phases combined.
That's true.
We don't know where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, I get why. I can see why fans are upset with like not knowing like the direction of phase 4, because like we've had all these characters introduced, we have all these plot points introduced. But I guess me personally, just going from like phase 1, like it took a while to build up to like Thanos. So I think that's why I'm kind of like waiting to see like where it goes. And I kind of enjoy the mystery of like having these like, maybe there's going to be big villains like the I forget, the Celestials, or like Kang, or maybe Galactus.
So I will push a little bit back on that, because for phase 1, like each of those end credit scenes were, and you also saw stuff of like talking about the next hero that's coming. Like Iron Man 2's end credit scene was Thor's hammer. Like even in Iron Man 2, there was like a fake Captain America shield and his thing. Hulk trailer. You had Tony Stark coming. Obviously, Iron Man won the Avengers Initiative. And remember, they showed you who they were fighting. Like Thor 1's end trailer was Loki. Like,
that's true.
because he survived and he was coming to Earth. Because after Captain America 1, where you see the Tesseract's been brought back, you see like, oh, Loki's going to get the Tesseract. He's the big bad of phase 1. Like, you have all that stuff building to that fight. And then you find out that someone actually sent Loki, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So I guess like they're just not connecting like all these movies in. Like they're all doing their own thing post Endgame, and something's gonna have to bring them together.
Yeah. Maybe that's like, I guess what they intended for like after Endgame, like since there's no Thanos, like everyone's doing their own thing until like this big bad comes and like everyone has to be like, okay, well, we need to come back as a team because like this entity is here to destroy the world.
Yeah, so because I'm just trying to think because you got to get the Guardians and Guardians, Thor, Captain Marvel, shoot Nick Fury. I'm assuming Maria Hill too if she's with them. They're all in space, but because maybe it'll be Nick Fury show Secret Invasions. That's like, hey, we might have to start getting people together.
Because it could be the Kree that are the next big bad. Because I know, like in the comics, Secret Invasion was about like the Skrulls invading, but they kind of did that in Captain Marvel. So maybe Secret Invasion and the Kree are going to be like secretly invading.
It could be. What would you rate this movie out of 10?
Initially, I said a 7.5, but like after thinking about it, I think I would give it an 8.
I'm right there with you. Do want to do some shout outs though. Quick things. Obviously, Marvel TV shows have been nominated for a whole bunch of awards.
Yep, they are 19 Emmys altogether between Moon
Knight, Loki.
Yeah, Moon Knight, Loki, What If. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman for getting a Emmy nominated. I'd love to see that. Hopefully he wins.
Yeah, because Moon Knight got 8 Emmy nominations. And Loki got 6. Hawkeye got 2. What If got 3. So shout out to them. Obviously, Thor opened up to a big opening, number 1 movie in the world right now. So money is doing good there. Byron, there was something I actually wanted to ask you about that OG Captain America, Chris Evans, had to step in because I don't know if it was Variety or there was like talking about Anthony Mackie to star, but we don't know if he's going to play Captain America. Like that whole bit.
I think it was Variety because they announced that Captain America 4 found their.
I found it. It's Hollywood Reporter. So it's like literally on the thing you shared because they had a trend. They were talking about who the director is. And then they said Anthony Mackie's reprising his longtime role of Sam Wilson, but not, however, portraying Wilson's longtime alter ego in Captain America's sidekick Falcon. It's unclear if Chris Evans will reprise his role as the first Captain America, which that'd be crazy. But the question who's entitled, who's to carry the shield, all bets are off, more details. And Chris Evans has a tweet saying Sam Wilson is Captain America.
I love that. I love that he came out and said that. I mean, it didn't need to be said because if you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, you would know that he, took up the mantle of Captain America. So Hollywood Reporter needs to step up their game. But I did like that Chris Evans came out and said, no, Sam Wilson is Captain America.
The only thing I found crazy was how Hollywood Reporter said that, but literally in the comics as well, people were apprehensive of Sam Wilson being Captain America. So it's like life is imitating art, and it shouldn't be doing it in that sense. Like these are like big movie people saying, man, I don't know if he's going to be Captain America. Like the fight for the shield. I was like, dude, we just had like a mini movie about that.
Right, that is so wild. Oh,
So,
Hollywood Reporter, get it together.
and Byron, anything else about the MCU? Because I mean, we're going to be back in a couple of weeks, literally talking about Comic-Con, and we're going to have a lot more. Oh, I do have something else. Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio coming back as Daredevil and Kingpin and Echo. So that's going to be that's going to be a highly anticipated show just to watch those two. And I don't know if you saw the rumors about Jessica Jones being in She-Hulk.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, the rumor is that Kristen Ritter, who plays Jessica Jones, will be back She-Hulk, which is very interesting to see.
It kind of makes sense because She-Hulk is an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So if she's hiring a PI, that's your way in.
Yeah. I mean, that would be cool to see her come back. And now the MCU, because she's part of the Netflix Daredevil verse. So it's cool that they're bringing their characters back into the fold. I hope Luke Cage comes back because he was one of my favorites.
But the way to bring Luke would be through Jessica. I mean, if you finally have them in that relationship, but we'll see, man. Anything else?
I don't know how, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about the VFX and the Marvel shows recently.
I've seen those things pop up out of nowhere. Yeah, saying they're not been treated right, like workers' rights or
that the VX people who've worked on the phase 4 of Marvel have been treated shittily in so many words that they're being overworked and the deadlines are super short and everything's being rushed. That's why people feel like the VFX has taken a dip from phase 3, which I've never noticed before, but there have been a lot of VFX artists coming out and saying the same thing about never wanting to work for Marvel again because of all these issues.
Yeah, so I saw those as well. I was just trying to think of first when you said it was the phase 4 people, so it hasn't been a whole thing throughout, because I'm dude, if these movies have been going on for 10 plus years, why is this coming out now? And I do feel like Marvel, I don't know if I can say it's Marvel, maybe it's Disney, because Disney's hey man, 2019 after Endgame, we had Far From Home and we were gone forever because of COVID, because Black Widow was supposed to come. So you had that long gap. So they're just now we're coming in, because they have come since Black Widow. They've come with a vengeance. There's been a movie almost once every 3 months.
Yeah, if they're not doing a movie, they've done a TV show.
So they're coming in full force. So maybe it's one of those things where they're on this thing that they're constantly pumping things out, and that's where the stress is coming from. But I mean, if this is a real, I'm not going to say it's not a real deal because I'm not there, but I feel like this will be something Feige and other people will address, because he's not been afraid to address this type of stuff.
Not at all. And I hope they address it soon.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are saying the VFX artists should go on strike, which would not be good for Marvel or Disney if that happens. So I think someone needs to address it and address it soon.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else, Byron?
No, I think we covered everything. Like I said, we're getting ready for San Diego Comic-Con. Definitely very excited about DC, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Any other surprises they might throw our way.
Yeah. And with that being said, man, thank you everyone for listening to L7C Podcast. We'll be back in a couple of weeks talking about San Diego Comic-Con, man. One of the biggest things in this community, when everyone is there, especially when the Hall of Justice and Hall H is filled, that is the spot. That is the biggest Comic-Con place on the planet, that, and everyone's going to be there. We might get some prizes, and we'll be back reviewing all of that stuff. And with that being said, make sure you like, rate, comment, subscribe wherever you're listening to. Thank you for listening to the L7C Podcast. Signing out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C Podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.